Everybody, I am R. Christian Minson, and welcome to the Facebook Live Weather All Storms. This week, I'm coming to you from the basement studios of my Denver, Colorado home, and I am a certified transformational breath facilitator, senior trainer with the Transformational Breath Foundation for the last 13 years. I'm a speaker, an author, internet coach. Basically your catalyst for awakening and transformation in life. I am formerly the director of breathwork at Rhythmia Life Advancement Center in Guanacaste, Costa Rica, which I hear now. Unfortunately, Costa Rica has put another month stay on opening up the country, so nobody can even get into Costa Rica until at least August 1st. They just had made it July 1st, and then 3 days before that, they announced August 1st, so we'll see what happens around July 28th. I'm hoping and praying that gets open so people can come back to Rhythmia. And as well, I'm a former monk. I was a monk for 10 years of my life in the order of Paramahansa Yogananda. Back here is a picture, a spiritual preceptor who guided us along the way. And so all that experience is what I bring to the table here as we talk today about our subject, Weather All Storms, which is really the mental, emotional attitude and the practice to keep yourself from getting thrown into chaos when anytime adversity hits. Okay, so this is what we're really talking about. Jerry Hinge joined on, says, hi, happy weekend, everyone. If you're here in the United States and you're actually doing something for the 4th of July weekend, type it in. I'd love to hear. I think we're having a small gathering just at our house here. Nothing big, nothing yahoo-y, but a few friends and stuff to make it nice. All right. So let's get started then. Anybody else want to say hi? Why are we talking about this subject today, weathering all storms? You know, there's no lack of storms in our lives. Would you agree with that? If you agree, give me some likes, some thumbs up, anything to tell me you're out there. We can't control these storms, but we can be in command in how we respond and interface with them. And Jessica Newhouse is saying hi. Jessica and Greg here from St. Louis, Missouri. Excellent. I used to live in St. Louis. I went to school there in St. Louis. Did you know that? Washington University, right there. I lived on the hill, right close to Blueberry Hill, 705 Inter Drive. I still remember the address. And that was some 30 plus years ago. So good memory there, huh? Nice and welcome. All right, so back to it. Life is experiential. There's no real do-overs. We're in it. We're either living it and flowing with it, or we keep banging our heads against the wall. So there's really some wisdom that some people know that seems to make them able to get through this life unscathed. And so what is that wisdom? That's what we really want to talk about today. And Petra Schwab says hi from Switzerland. I know that. And Tammy Scarlett saying hi, and she's late on, but yeah, that's you can always catch the recording for the parts you missed, but I'd rather have you on, as you say, better late than never. So good. Got a good crowd on. So what are we talking about? What is this secret to cultivating the ability to weather all storms? And this really comes from, I'd say this wisdom today comes primarily from my monastic experience. And the attitude, the discipline, the ability to weather storms is to embrace the attitude of humility. And we're going to talk about this in depth. The attitude of humility. And as I mentioned, this came from when I was a monk, that the president of the time, who was a woman, had this poem by a spiritual figure named Canon T.T. Carter the poem called Humility. And it really describes the essence of this attitude very well. We'll go over the poem and break it down. But I appreciate this too, because this concept of humility is one that I feel for myself, but I believe especially in Western society, we kind of don't have a positive view of humility. I think partly, thinking it through myself, the idea of humiliation or being humiliated is intertwined in that word humility. But I think the concept of humility is more about embracing an idea of humbleness. Now, even that idea, as positive as it can be, I think gets a little bit of negative press in the Western world, because we're do-it-yourselfers. We're tough and strong, and to be humble maybe sometimes is perceived as being weak. But we want to look at this here, how this idea of humbleness, this idea of humility can really not only is it not being weak, but it actually is the strength, it is the inner anchor that helps us to weather the storms. As the storms batter the boat left and right, we have this strong anchor in that keeps you from drifting out into the endless seas. So let's see. Hello, Dion is saying hello. Nice to see you on. And where are you coming from, Dion? Were you just here's the one I was emailing with, right? So I think you're coming from New York, and great to have you on. So, all right. So this is the concept, humility, and the poem. Let me read it to you. Humility by Canon T.T. Carter, right? Humility is perpetual quietness of heart. It is to have no trouble. It is never to be fretted or vexed or irritated or sore or disappointed. It is to expect nothing, to wonder at nothing that is done to me, and to feel nothing done against me. It is to be at rest when nobody praises me, and when I am blamed and despised. It is to have a blessed home within myself, where I can go in and shut the door and kneel to my Father in secret, and be at peace as in a deep sea of calmness, when all around and above is troubled. Pretty amazing, huh? That's it in a nutshell. 3 short lines. Now this, I'm guessing that Canon T.T. Carter comes from the Christian faith. It definitely has a Christian overtone, this idea of being blamed and despised, and the, kneeling to the Father. And so looking beyond that language, I mean, these are universal concepts that take, in the Christian language, they tend to have a little harder edge, and different other different faiths or ways of believing, it might be expressed differently. So let's dig past those points anyway and get to the real essence of what he's saying there. So humility is perpetual quietness of heart. So it's really to be in your heart, and a stillness, a heart stillness, a place that is, as if we were on a lake, a boat on a still lake, and just kind of drifting around. So he's saying it's to have no trouble, and this is an interesting concept, because on the surface this may seem like counter to what I typically teach with breath work, which is to allow ourselves to express our emotions. He's saying it's have no trouble, never be fretted, vexed, irritated, sore, or disappointed. So on some level, I teach that we want to allow those emotions to come up if we have them harbored deep inside, um, primarily through the tool of breath work. But so what he's saying here, though, is essentially akin to the net result of that, is to be free of this harbored energy. This energy of fretting. It's a little fear. What's going to happen next? The energy of being vexed. Anger and being mad at somebody, irritated. That's one I work on quite regularly. Sore or disappointed. What I notice about these emotions really is, especially when I'll talk about myself, but I find it to be universal, is that these are usually caused in my mind. They're not necessarily emotions that are part of something that's truly done to you. They're fabricated from within. And what I mean by that, I mentioned in the beginning that I'll be going to Dubai here. I'm visiting my loved one, and we have this long distance relationship. And I find that when I get either irritated or fretted, I'm worried about something, it all 99% of the time I'm creating it in my head. And because of the distance and the lack of communication, often I don't get to corroborate what's going on in my head until we finally get to connect by text or video. And then invariably it's all worked out, meaning it shows that it was all just fabrications of my mind when I'm actually talking with her and addressing these things. It's like, it's all just in my mind. So where does that come from, though? It comes from stored energies of past experiences, past emotional experiences, past trauma, past negative experiences, things that you didn't want to deal with or tried to avoid dealing with. And that energy is stored inside. So when something happens in life that sort of triggers, there's a trigger that opens up the gate, so to speak, and lets this energy back out. And that's when we get fretted or vexed or irritated or sore or disappointed. If we can clear out that inner energy, then when we're hit with another trial, we're much more present to be able to deal with it. We approach it from that quietness of heart. And so in that quietness of heart, nothing seems to be as huge as it may if we're, like they said, a Chicken Little gets all crazy and starts saying the sky is falling, the sky is falling, when an acorn hits him in the head. That's taking, that's having a catalyst, the trigger, the acorn hits the head, then it prompts this fear that's already inside that hasn't been resolved yet. It comes to the surface and it says, oh my God, what's going on? It must be the sky is falling. Of course, jump to the most tragic conclusions that we can think of. So we are wanting to clear that energy, get into that quiet heart space. Let's see, religion is just a language, a tool. Exactly. And I speak about that in the book I'm writing about maps and the actual reality. And Tam says, "Oh, that's great news. So happy for you. Must be about the my journey to Dubai." Autumn saying, "Love it." Tammy saying, "Beautiful, beautiful, excellent." And hello from Arizona, Autumn. So keep them coming. Keep the comments coming. Any questions and all that. All right. So so this is that first part. We can actually. All of these feelings are really mostly things that are stored within us. A trigger causes them to come out, and we react. We bring them back up and feel them again, rather than responding, which is to be able to have that quietness of heart, some storm blows in, we learn how to float with the boat rather than, again, getting all upset and otherwise. Petra's saying the old beliefs conservate the emotions. Our mind lifts them up by itself, and we mostly believe it's the truth. Exactly. So the old beliefs, hold those emotions in there. Then, when something happens, our mind brings them to the surface, and we tend to believe that that's the truth. If we just able to hold that quiet heart, we could stay in that space and allow then the truth to reveal itself versus jump to conclusions. All right, so the second one is, it's to expect nothing, to wonder at nothing that's done to me, to feel nothing done against me. So expectations, these are, expectations, assumptions, the Bad News Bears. Anybody ever see that movie, The Bad News Bears? Came out like 1977, 78, something like that. I just remember Walter Matthau. He was the coach, and I remember this vividly because I was a little kid at the time, and it's the first time I ever heard a swear word in the movie. But he said, "Never assume." Why? And then he writes the one ASSUME, because it makes an ass, and then he drew a line out of you, and drew another line, and me, me, assume. And that's pretty much what an assumption does, though I'd say it makes an ass out of the person assuming more than it does out of the other person. So expectations are usually assumptions. Again, if I draw back on my own experience, which I was just talking about, they're usually incorrect. They're often brought about by all this harbored energy that isn't serving us anymore. It brings about the worst case scenario to the mind, and the mind takes off on that. Why is the news so popular? I don't like the news, but when the news happens, we're riveted to it? Because they highlight the bad, they highlight the negative, and something in us is just attracted to that. And so we have to watch out for that and not make assumptions, not have expectations in alignment with this attraction to the negative. Wonder at nothing that's done to me. So often we feel like somebody does something to you, and you're like, why did they do that? Why was that? They were so mean or whatever. And I don't know if you've ever, most of those things we just let go, and yet we have now this association with that person or that incident that, there was this negative compulsion from that person. Again, an assumption, right? An expectation. When oftentimes, if you actually went to that person and said, why did you do that? And they're like, why did I do what? And you explain it. Often they might not even been conscious that they even did this thing. And if they were conscious that they did it, 99 times out of 100, their motivation was much different than what you concluded was their motivation. And usually it's a lot more benign, even benevolent, than the negative things you put on it. So people are rarely doing things to us directly, right? So don't go wondering at this, as he's saying. It's just, again, the mind spinning off on stuff that's not productive. To feel nothing done against me. So again, this in two ways. This one I read in two ways. One is to feel nothing done against me. If somebody actually does something against you, where it's pretty obvious, just to not feel it, to allow them the space to do their thing, but not react to it. Basically, you might have feelings there, but not to get all worked up, not to get fretted or vexed or irritated or sore or disappointed, right? To allow allow life to happen and then respond accordingly. Another way to look at it is feel nothing done against me, meaning feel that nothing ever is done against you. That to see things from a perspective that even if this person did something that hurt me, that it really wasn't them doing it against me. There was some other deeper the conflict going on in their consciousness. Oftentimes they're reacting to something. Then they do blah. They express it or project it onto you, and you feel like, well, you did this against me, but they really weren't doing it against you. They were just vomiting their own old repressed emotional states and such, and reacting in a way that then you happen to be in the field and get the brunt of it, but it really wasn't done to you in that conscious sense. And if this is a great place, if any of this is making sense or not making sense, go ahead and type it in and add your comments or questions. The mind is always trying to protect us from hurt. And that's true, though I would say sometimes, though, too, the mind wants to be hurt. The ego mind wants to justify what just happened and say, well, I don't deserve that and all. And so we get indignant, we get vexed, or we get disappointed. We say, well, you shouldn't have treated me that way. What a dumb jerk. I'm not going to hang out with that person anymore. When really, if we started with that quiet heart, then we received whatever in the spirit of not feeling that it was done against me or that it was even done to me. Then we go and actually approach that person and can get to the bottom of it. Oftentimes we can see that they were acting out of hurt, and our non-reactivity, holding space for their hurt, even though they projected it onto us, will often help them heal what is going on inside of them. So not only are you now calm and even-minded, but you've radiated that out and influenced others in that respect. Okay? So that's that second. And then it is to be at rest when nobody praises me and when I'm blamed and despised. So first of all, how many times have we done something and we go, we want to get acknowledged for it, right? And then everybody's busy with their own crap, and nobody even looks your way, to say good job or wow, you got that done. We've been needing that done. It's quite helpful, but this is really talking about your own self-esteem, your own self-confidence, the confidence in yourself to know that when you do something good, that you are doing it in alignment with a higher power. You're doing it ultimately as an offering to that higher power, and that part of you is seen. Now, all of it's once again the ego that's really striving for that recognition, to say, hey, look at me, look how great I am, please tell me how great I am, because I only can know how great I am if I can constantly reinforced by external sources. Right? So this is allowing us to see that we want to drop that concept and recognize that if I do something and nobody praises me, then I'm no less of it was no less of an achievement. And if I'm blamed and despised, this is really tough, because how many times have you been blamed or somebody gives you hateful energy, and it just doesn't feel good, right? And you want to then react. You want to be angry and vexed. You want to be sore and disappointed. But it's saying here that, once again, you're confident in yourself, whether people acknowledge you or even people try to cut you down, or try to make you feel like you're less than. Knowing this humbleness, this humility is a deep knowing that you are okay, that you are a child of God, and as such, even if you do something wrong, so to speak, something that was a little out of alignment with the general harmony of nature, that you still are okay. You still are whole and complete. You don't need to take on this blame and this despisedness and feel inferior or less than. All right. So this is, this second paragraph is really talking about not having expectations and assumptions, and having that place, that calm place of being confident and having the self-esteem of knowing that you are as much a child of God as any being out there. And that's where the third paragraph really brings it on home, saying it's to have a blessed home within myself, where I can go in and shut the door and kneel to my Father in secret, and be at peace as in a deep sea of calmness when all around and above is troubled. So here, what it's really talking about, find that blessed home within yourself. Having a practice of interiorization, meditation, breath work, what have you, where you can go in and shut the door. So it's like to remove yourself from all of the craziness that life has, that life is throwing at you. To kneel to your Father in secret means to go into that inner beingness, to whether you consider the Father connecting with your divine self, your higher self, Pachamama, the universe, however you want to relate to it, and be at peace as if in a deep sea of calmness when all above and around is troubled. This is such a great analogy. If you ever lived near the ocean or water, when the wind is blowing, when it's stormy out, the surface of the water is very choppy, and it can be very rough, and it can be very difficult. If you got a boat on there, you can be tossed around in whatever way. But just dive into that water, and just 5 feet under the surface, it's calm, it's still. There can be a freaking raging hurricane going on. If you get down below the surface, the water is just calm. The environment is calm. And this is the result of interiorization. It's the world, it's the external world that's in constant flux and chaos, and it's our practice to bring ourselves back into this inner chamber, this inner reservoir, where we can, as he says, close the door and kneel in secret to be in connection or communion with our higher self. So through this poem, ideally we get a glimpse into what it means to hold this attitude of humility, what it means to stand in the world of chaos with a humble attitude that helps us stay the course, not be blown off, not be uprooted, but be grounded and stable despite whatever's going on. And of course, life has chaotic moments, and I'd say life is just one chaotic moment after another. Here we are in the middle of the coronavirus still, and this has been one unusual chaos. But we've got weather patterns, fires, earthquakes, tornadoes. We have riots and racial injustices and stuff. We've got you name it. There's very little respite between the next element of chaos that arises in our lives. So if we just take life as a chaotic experience, we can again either get sucked into the storm and be blown around and twisted and battered, or we can learn to dive underneath the surface, find that inner place of calmness, that place where we feel, you know, not fretted, not vexed, not irritated. We don't worry about how others are projecting onto us, and we stay in that energy of our higher self. And Su Ling saying, practice of interiorization, new term for me. Yeah, so we were to interiorize is really the goal of meditation, to come back to our inner self. It is the harbor of our higher self, of God, of our true nature. And we won't find it out there. We'll find it out there in worldly terms, and that is chaotic, dyadic, meaning what's the term I'm looking for? The duality, which is the black and the white, the darkness and the light. And so the external reflection of that divine self is going to have all these chaotic dualities to it. If we want to escape that craziness, we have to go within and find the harmony within the oneness that is the source of all of this ultimate chaos and good stuff too, basically. So how do we do this then? How do we most easily get on this track of maintaining this humble attitude? It is a practice. It is a discipline. And this is where the clue here is to have practices of interiorization. Meditation is a great one to practice, and of course breath work. Breath work, which is what I primarily teach to help you, first of all, get into your inner being and uproot any of these old stagnant energies which are causing the reactions of vexedness, of irritatedness, of disappointedness. So through that, we release and integrate that energy so that we're more of a clear, pure vessel to receive reality in the moment, and we have the ability then to respond to it. Tammy saying the eye of the storm, and the eye meaning the eye, not the eye. The eye of the storm is really, that interior place. And it's such a fitting metaphor too, because when we say the hurricane, right? In the middle of the hurricane is complete calmness. It is the essence of everything we're talking about. You go out of that middle part, and then you're just, you're subject to the chaos of the storm itself. So breathwork can help by, clearing out those things that cause us to have the reactions in the first place. And then it is a great practice for tuning us in to our higher nature, for giving us alignment to our higher self, which helps to develop a sense of security, a sense of okayness, a sense of self-esteem, because you've connected with your inner spirit and you know yourself to be, you inherently experience yourself to be something greater than you perceived yourself as. Just a little, as we feel like we're just little boats on the surface of the sea, right? When we actually connect, interiorize and connect, and I'm suggesting through breath work in this case, that we start to recognize that we are the sea itself, that in that we know that we're held. We know that whatever surface chaos is going on, it cannot touch us at our inner core. And so these are some of the ways that breathwork can help us to align to a spirit of humility, this spirit of humbleness that will allow us not to be fretted, vexed, irritated, sore, disappointed. Let me read that poem one more time now. With all this explanation, see if you can maybe close your eyes, feel it as it's coming in, as I speak the words, and see if you don't receive it from a different place. Humility is perpetual quietness of heart. It is to have no trouble. It's never to be fretted or vexed or irritated or sore or disappointed. It's to expect nothing, to wonder at nothing done to me, and to feel nothing done against me. It's to be at rest when nobody praises me and when I'm blamed and despised. It is to have a blessed home within myself where I can go in and shut the door and kneel to my Father in secret and be at peace as if in a deep sea of calmness when all above and around is troubled. Do you feel it? Do you feel the essence of that state? And that's the state Canon T.T. Carter calls humility. We'd call a state of humbleness, a state of security, knowing that we are just a little drop in the ocean, but we are the whole ocean itself. So what if you practiced this attitude of humility in your own life and activities? Imagine just how much more even-minded you would be, how much less reactive your life would be, how much more secure in your being you would feel as you feel in touch with the source of who you are and the source of your power. How much would that improve the quality of your life? I'll leave that for you to ponder. And Aaron is saying, helpful reading. I feel it. Excellent. Jessica saying, I feel it too. Beautiful. And I feel it too. I definitely, I love this poem. I've contemplated it. If you want a copy, just email me or go to my website, breathflow.com, breathflow.com, and then go to the contact me page. Write in, I'd love a copy of this poem. I'm happy to send it to you. Like I said, as a monk, I used to spend many study periods just communing with each line of this, trying to really get the deeper essence of it. And today I tried to express some of that in words, but where you're really going to feel it is in your own diving into it. And then where you're really going to feel it is when you go out into life and you start to have the storms blowing, and yet you remember quietness of heart. Oh, not to be upset so that nobody's praising me or they're blaming me, and so on and so forth. So with that, I leave you to ponder the greater essence of what it means to live in humility. And until next time, R. Christian Minson here, giving you the wisdom of the ages through a modern perspective. And I'll see you next week. Now, before we go, though, I like to always grab the guitar and sing a song in alignment with this. This one I thought was great because it has the whole ocean theme to it. And maybe you've heard it before. It's a great song for interiorizing too, because it's just sung over and over. And let's just see, people are saying some thank yous, and now feel free to join in and sing along with me. This is Steve Gold. There's so much magnificence. There is so much magnificence near the ocean. Waves are coming in, waves are coming in. There is so much magnificence near the ocean. Waves are coming in, waves are coming in. There is so much magnificence near the ocean. Waves are coming in, waves are coming in. There is so much magnificence near the ocean. Yeah, waves are coming in, waves are coming in. There is so much magnificence near the ocean. Waves are coming in, waves are coming in. Waves are coming in, waves are coming in. There you go. So much magnificence in that ocean. Dive deep, find that inner peace, find the stillness amidst the common chaos. Go out there and live your lives in humility, humbleness, perpetual quietness of heart. Let me hear from you. Let me know how it's going. Till next time, R. Christian Minson signing off. Namaste.